Chapter 11. Ethan. We finished dinner, and the whole thing made me smile. Everyone pitched in to clean the kitchen. I am quite messy when I cook, so it was good to have the help. The atmosphere was light, filled with the occasional laugh or joke as we wiped down counters and put away dishes. The girls were in high spirits, still buzzing from the excitement of the day and the delicious meal. I found myself stealing glances at Victoria and Samantha as we worked, unable to get over just how stunning they both were, even in the PJs they were now wearing. It was hard not to notice how they moved with such grace, even in the simplest of tasks, or how their laughter seemed to fill the room with warmth. But what really caught me off guard was how close they were getting to me, both physically and in conversation. It wasn't anything overt, just little things: Victoria brushing against my arm as she passed by with a dish, Samantha leaning in a bit too close when she pointed out where the silverware went. It had been some time since a woman had been in such close proximity to me, so I knew I was reading into their actions, but dang. They were so pretty. Ethan, take a chill pill. This is not what it seems. Once the kitchen was spotless, Victoria suggested we retreat to the game room to wind down. The girls eagerly agreed, already discussing which movie to watch. But as we made our way toward the game room, Victoria gently placed a hand on Lily and Maya's shoulders, pausing them just before the door. "Why don't you two go ahead and start the movie? Samantha and I need to have a quick chat with your dad," she said, her voice smooth and composed. Lily and Maya exchanged glances before nodding and heading into the room. I watched them go, feeling a slight tension in the air as the door closed behind them. When I turned back, Victoria and Samantha were both standing a bit too close, their expressions a mix of embarrassment and something else I couldn't quite place. "We wanted to talk to you about this morning," Victoria began, her tone more serious now. Samantha nodded, her eyes downcast for a moment before meeting mine. "Yeah, we're both really sorry about, well, ending up in your bed like that. It wasn't intentional." She paused. "No, sorry, that's a lie. It was absolutely intentional. It just should not have happened." I blinked, surprised by their apology. "There's really no need to apologize," I said, trying to reassure them. "I get it. My girls did the same thing, and from what they told me, you two were just helping them get settled." Victoria shook her head slightly, looking a bit flustered. "Your girls are children, Ethan. Samantha is a world-famous model, and I am a lady of the British court. We are adults, and we know better. We are sorry we invaded your space like that. It was inappropriate." I smiled at the irony. Here were two of the most beautiful women I'd ever seen, standing in front of me, apologizing for something I couldn't even bring myself to be upset about. "Honestly, you're both worrying too much about this," I said, my voice light. "You're two of the most beautiful, polite, and kind women I've ever had the pleasure of knowing. You were helping my girls, and even if you weren't, which I know you were, I wouldn't be upset. If sharing my space with you made you feel safe, even for a little while, then I'm honored. You're welcome to jump into my bed anytime." Samantha's eyes widened slightly, and a flush crept up her cheeks. Victoria, for her part, looked both relieved and embarrassed, but there was a small smile tugging at the corners of her lips. "You're far too kind, Ethan," Victoria said softly, her gaze holding mine. "But I suppose that's one of the reasons we feel so comfortable around you." "Yeah," Samantha agreed, her voice almost a whisper. "You make us feel safe." There was a moment of silence between us, the kind that felt heavy with unspoken thoughts. I didn't know what to say to that, so I put out my arms. They looked at each other and then fell into my chest. I'm a big guy, so it was easy to engulf them both. I heard them let out a sigh. I just held them for a moment until they took a step back. "Well," I said finally, clearing my throat to break the tension, "I'm just glad I could help. That's what matters." "Thank you, Ethan," Victoria said, her voice sincere. "For everything." Samantha nodded in agreement, still looking a bit shy. "Yeah, thank you." I shrugged, trying to downplay it all again. just doing what anyone would. Victoria gave me a long, considering look, as if she wanted to say something more but was holding back. Finally, she just smiled and motioned toward the game room. Shall we join the girls? Yeah, let's, I agreed, eager to get back to something a bit less intense. As we walked toward the door, I could feel a subtle shift in the air between us. There was a sense of understanding now, a connection that hadn't been there before. It was hard to describe, but it felt good. Right, even. We entered the game room to find Lily and Maya already curled up on one of the oversized couches, the opening credits of some animated movie playing on the massive screen. They looked up as we walked in, grinning widely. Finally! Lily exclaimed. We thought you were going to miss the best part. Yeah, come on, Dad. Maya added, patting the space next to her on the couch. Sit with us. I smiled and moved to sit between them, grateful for the distraction. As the movie played and the girls leaned against me, I felt a sense of peace settle over me. Victoria and Samantha took seats on either side of the girls, both of them looking more relaxed now. For the rest of the evening, we watched movies, laughed at the funny parts, and just enjoyed being in each other's company. And though I couldn't stop myself from glancing at Victoria and Samantha every now and then, the earlier tension had faded into something warmer, more comfortable. Good. That is how it should be.
Victoria. I woke up to the soft glow of morning light filtering through the heavy curtains of my bedroom. Stretching beneath the luxurious sheets, I realized I was alone. It made me sad. I wasn't in Ethan's bed, and the girls were nowhere to be seen. Why did I feel alone? I heard laughter down the hall. Maya, probably. It made me smile. I replayed the events in my mind, the laughter during the movie, the warmth of the girls snuggled close, and the unexpected comfort I found in Ethan's presence. The storm outside had pushed us all together in a way I hadn't anticipated. Had it only been a single day since I met them? With a sigh, I slipped out of bed and padded over to the nightstand where I'd left my tablet. I needed to check in with Louis. I tapped on the screen, and Louis's familiar face appeared, his perfectly coiffed hair and sharp cheekbones filling the screen. Good morning, Lady Harrington, Louis greeted me with a knowing smile, his French accent adding a touch of flair to his already polished demeanor. I hope you're calling to tell me you wound up in that handsome American's bed again. This time without additional company. My cheeks flushed, and I laughed softly. Louis, you really do have a one-track mind. He chuckled, his eyes twinkling with mischief. I live for these little dramas, you know that. So, how was your day? Did you or Samantha seduce the young hero? I smiled at the statement, then scowled. Who said I was going to seduce him? Then I stopped, recalling the incredible meal Ethan had prepared. Louis, no seduction, but there might as well have been. You wouldn't believe it. Ethan cooked us the most amazing dinner: lasagna, salads, corn dishes, garlic bread. It was like something out of a 5-star restaurant. Do you remember that little place we went to in Florence last year? Same feeling, but made with, I don't know, love? Amazing, everything homemade. Louis raised an eyebrow, impressed. A man who can cook like that. He's sounding more and more like a dream. Is he gay? Maybe I will take a taste. I rolled my eyes. Louis, focus, I said, trying to steer the conversation back on track. Ethan is very much straight, as far as I know. And no, there was no seduction involved. We just had a nice dinner, and then an evening with him, Samantha and his girls. We watched movies and ate ice cream. It was nice. What? No drama at all? I am very disappointed in you, my lady. I hesitated, the memory of what happened next still fresh in my mind. Well, maybe a bit. After dinner, Samantha and I decided to apologize to him for the awkwardness yesterday morning. We wanted to make sure he didn't feel uncomfortable about us being in his bed. I sighed. I cannot believe those words just came from my mouth. Such a scandal. Louis leaned in closer to the screen, his interest piqued. And how did that go? I smiled at the thought. It was unexpected. He was so kind, Lewis. He told us we were worrying too much and that he was honored we felt safe enough to be in his space. And then he said something about how we were two of the most beautiful women he'd ever seen, and we could jump into his bed anytime. Lewis's eyes widened, and he let out a low whistle. Oh la la, Victoria. Sate comment and vouter, nsce pa? Alors, comment as tu reagis à ca? Lewis spoke French when he got really excited. To translate, that man knows how to charm, doesn't he? So, how did you respond to that? That's just the thing, she replied, ignoring the fact that Lewis switched languages. He wasn't being charming. He was being him. I don't think he even realized what he said. He was genuine. I let out a breath, recalling the way Samantha and I had ended up hugging him. We hugged him, Lewis. It just felt right at the moment. But he seemed a bit surprised, almost as if he wasn't used to that kind of affection. Lewis shook his head, a soft smile playing on his lips. This was a mountain town, with rugged landscapes and unpredictable weather. With that in mind, I decided to change. I needed something that was still elegant but more suited to the mountains, a comfortable, stylish sweater paired with slim jeans and boots that could handle the terrain. Something that would allow me to blend into the environment while still feeling like myself. As I adjusted my outfit, I felt a sense of purpose settle over me. I wasn't just dressing for the day, I was preparing for the next step in understanding the man who had so unexpectedly come into my life. The man who, along with his girls, was becoming increasingly important to me. Samantha. I woke up slowly, the soft morning light filtering through the curtains. My first thought was how incredibly cozy and warm I felt, but that comfort was quickly overshadowed by the memory of last night, the incredible dinner, the laughter, and, of course, waking up in Ethan's bed the previous morning. I groaned inwardly, feeling a rush of embarrassment all over again. Ethan. Just the thought of him made me feel warm. He was unlike anyone I'd ever met, strapping, masculine, genuine, and with this quiet strength that made me feel safe, which was a feeling I wasn't used to. But that wasn't something I was ready to admit, not to myself and definitely not to my friends. I reached for my phone, which I'd left on the nightstand. As soon as I unlocked it, the group chat with my friends lit up with notifications. The dumb thing glitched like crazy. I would get a new one in Silver Ridge today. I looked at the messages and, of course, they were still buzzing about the video I'd sent them last night, Ethan being the perfect gentleman while looking like a sexy cowboy Terminator. Olivia, so, what happened after that video? We're dying here. Grace.
Yeah.
Sam, don't leave us hanging. Did he whip up breakfast too? Natalie, and what's the plan for today? Is he sticking around now that the storm has tapered off? I frowned. The storm. Damn. Ethan and the girls could leave today now that the storm had passed. I didn't like that. I completely forgot that we don't actually know each other. I started typing, trying to keep it casual. Samantha, okay, don't freak out. As you saw in that video, we all ended up watching a movie in the theater room. Ethan, and Victoria, his daughters, and I all snuggled on the couch. It was freaking adorable. I will send you pictures later. Ethan was really sweet. He stayed for a bit, then left us to finish. It is insane how good dinner was last night. The guy can cook. You guys saw it. He is supposed to make us a dessert today. The girls called the PIE. So that should be fun. The responses came in fast, each more excited than the last. Liv, stop it. Now I'm hungry. Did you guys talk more? What's his story? Why is he single? Oh damn, is he single? Grace, tell me you've got his lasagna recipe and his 411. Does he have socials? Natalie, Sam, you're practically living in a rom-com right now. Tell us more about his girls. How do they act around you? Around him? Your lack of actual facts is irritating. I paused, fingers hovering over the screen. I hadn't really thought about it until now, but Maya and Lily were starting to mean something. Was that a motherly instinct thing? I barely knew them. But I couldn't deny it, they were sweet, funny, and full of life, and it wasn't hard to understand why Ethan adored them. But getting close to them meant getting close to him, and that was dangerous territory. Samantha.
Yeah.
His 2 girls. Wow, they are amazing, little bottles of freaking sunshine. Stunning too. I'm not going to lie, I'm getting attached. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We're just hanging out, you know? I hesitated before sending the next part, feeling a twinge of uncertainty. Samantha, but.
Yeah.
He's something special. I hit send, feeling a little more vulnerable than I intended. The truth was, I wasn't totally convinced I liked Ethan. I liked the idea of what he represented: stability, warmth, and that sense of family I hadn't felt in a long time. Liv, I think a deeper investigation is warranted. Grace, and if you need any tips on bonding with the girls, we can talk. My nieces and nephews, you know I'm here for you. Natalie, I cannot wait to meet the guy. Watch out for Roger, he is in Silver Ridge.
Ugh.
Roger. Just the thought of him made my stomach turn. My last relationship had been a disaster, and the last thing I needed was him trying to worm his way back into my life. But that was a problem for another day. Samantha, I will avoid him. The asshat. I doubt he will bother me if Aunt Victoria is with me. And then there is Ethan. I paused. And then there was Ethan. It was funny last night, she and the girls had watched the first Terminator. Not exactly a movie for kids, but apparently it was one of Lily and Maya's favorite. Something about Ethan reminded her of the Terminator. Not that he looked like Arnold, yet there were some similarities. They were about the same height and build, though if Ethan, truly muscular, had remained to be seen. Still, Ethan was like a sexy cowboy Terminator.
Yum.
I shook my head. Get a grip, Sam. What are you, 12? After sending the messages to my friends, I stared at my phone for a moment longer, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. I wasn't sure what today would bring, but I knew I needed to be prepared for anything. With that thought in mind, I decided it was time to get ready. I glanced around the room, taking in the cozy elegance of Victoria's chateau. The mountain air was crisp and cool, and I could hear the faint rustling of leaves outside the window. It was peaceful, serene even, yet it didn't help with the butterflies in my stomach. I padded over to the closet and started rifling through clothes. I had a full wardrobe here. I was at Victoria's place often enough that I practically lived here, so I had everything I needed. Actually, it was a closely guarded secret that I owned half of the property. Aunt Victoria and I went in on it 4 or 5 years ago as a way to manage the money I was receiving. I was one of the top models in the world for several years and had to do something with the cash. It was safe to say that because of my aunt's foresight, I am very wealthy in my own right even without my family money. Anyway, I needed something that struck the right balance, something that said I was casual and comfortable but also put together. I wanted to make an impression, but I didn't want to overdo it. I pulled out a soft, cream-colored sweater. It was cozy enough for the cool mountain air but still chic. I paired it with a pair of well-fitted dark jeans and a pair of ankle boots that gave me just the right amount of height. I quickly discarded the idea of wearing heels. This wasn't the time or place for them. Besides, the thought of tripping over myself in front of Ethan was mortifying. I glanced at myself in the mirror, adjusting my hair, which I had decided to leave in loose waves cascading down my shoulders. I applied a light layer of makeup, keeping the look more on the natural side. I added a small amount of brown shadow to the crease of my lid to make the green in my eyes stand out more. I followed that up with a light layer of mascara and added blush to my cheeks and lips. As I finished, I took a step back, meticulously going over every detail of my appearance: my hair, how it had fallen, my outfit, and my makeup. Was my makeup too much? I found myself lost in thought. Would Ethan like this? Even take a second glance? With a final look in the mirror, I took a deep breath. Okay, Sam, you've got this, I whispered to myself. I grabbed my phone and slipped it into my back pocket, feeling the weight of the messages from my friends still lingering in my mind. They were rooting for me, and that gave me a bit more confidence as I headed for the door. It was time to face the day and whatever it might bring with my best foot forward. After a moment of reconsideration, I decided to swap the jeans and sweater for something that felt a bit more sophisticated. I wanted to strike the perfect balance between casual and put together, something that would feel appropriate for the mountain setting but still show off my sense of style and maybe turn a few heads, maybe even turn Ethan's. I went back to the wardrobe and pulled out a winter dress. It was one of my favorites, a deep burgundy, knitted dress that hugged my curves. The dress was fitted at the waist, flaring out slightly at the hips, and ended just above my knees, offering a tasteful glimpse of my legs. I paired it with a pair of black leggings, providing warmth and comfort without sacrificing style. The dress had a modest neckline, but the way it clung to my figure subtly highlighted my chest. To finish the look, I added a pair of knee-high black boots with a slight heel, which added a good amount of height to further elongate my legs. The boots were practical for the weather but still chic enough to complete the outfit. I added a simple silver necklace to the ensemble, nothing too flashy, just a little something to draw attention to the neckline. I checked myself in the mirror again, pleased with how the outfit came together. The rich burgundy of the dress contrasted beautifully with my dirty blonde hair, and the fitted silhouette made me feel confident and put together. It was the perfect choice, warm enough for the crisp mountain air but still stylish and flattering. It showcased my legs and hinted at my figure without being over the top. With a final spritz of perfume, I grabbed my phone and headed out the door, ready to face whatever the day had in store. I wasn't sure what to expect, but at least I knew I was dressed for it.
Chapter 13. Ethan. I woke up to the sound of birds chirping outside the window, the storm that had brought us here now a fading memory. The first light of dawn was creeping through the heavy curtains, casting a soft glow across the room. I stretched, feeling that familiar, satisfying ache in my muscles from yesterday's activities. As I sat up, I glanced around, taking in the peaceful stillness that contrasted sharply with the chaos of the night before. This place, Victoria's chateau, as fancy as it was, felt surprisingly comfortable. It wasn't my usual kind of place, but the overall atmosphere was welcoming. Probably had to do with the people. My girls naturally settled in and seemed so at ease. It was not what I would have expected. Still, I had to question what we were still doing here. I forced that thought out of my mind. I pushed the covers aside and stood up, heading over to the large windows to pull the curtains open. The view outside was breathtaking, rolling hills, lush trees, and the faint outline of mountain peaks in the distance. The air was crisp, fresh with the scent of pine and damp earth. The perfect morning after a storm. I had been coming to these mountains since I was 10, and I knew them like the back of my hand. Yet, the beauty and tranquility never ceased to amaze me. It was quite different experiencing the place from a castle that probably cost more than every asset I had ever hoped to have. Maybe I should look it up on Zillow. I shook my head. Stop. You're being dumb. Get moving. I got dressed, pulling on a well-worn flannel shirt and jeans. My mind wandered back to the night before. I was trying to tell Victoria and Samantha that we should probably start packing up, but then the girls had to talk about the PIE. Apparently, Victoria and Samantha are chocolate lovers because they insisted that I make it. So much for getting out of here today. Then again, my girls were having a blast. It had been so long since they connected with a female figure that it was painfully obvious they needed one. The thought of my ex-wife made me glower. I had full custody, but they still had to see their mother. If the court allowed it, I would cut her off completely. I'm told that isn't good for the girls. I'm not so sure. As I buttoned up my shirt, there was a knock at the door, followed by the sound of it creaking open. I turned to see Lily and Maya peeking in, both of them looking excited. "Morning, Dad," Lily said brightly, her voice full of energy. "Good morning, my angels," I replied, smiling at the sight of my girls. "You two are up early." "We couldn't sleep in," Maya chimed in, bouncing on her toes. "We were talking with Auntie Victoria and Samantha, and they said they want to take us into town today." I raised an eyebrow, surprised. "Into Silver Ridge?" Lily nodded enthusiastically. Yeah. They said they've got some things they need to pick up, and they thought it would be fun to take us along. You know that we've never been there because it's so fancy. Can we go? Please. 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 I hesitated, the thought of venturing into that ritzy town making me a bit uneasy. Silver Ridge wasn't exactly my scene. Listen, girls, I said slowly, I am not sure that's a good idea. Wouldn't it be better if we just head to the campsite? We shouldn't impose on Victoria and Samantha any longer. But Dad, it's Silver Ridge. Lily grinned and put her arms around me. Come on. We've got to go. Maya followed suit, wrapping her arms around my waist. Yeah. We actually have an excuse. Besides, Samantha and Victoria will be sad if we don't. I tried not to roll my eyes. I seriously doubted that. Listen, I will discuss it with them. Go get ready, then. We'll head down to breakfast and talk to Victoria and Samantha. They dashed out of the room, their laughter echoing down the hallway as they disappeared from sight. I took a deep breath, mentally preparing myself for the day ahead. This was a fight I was going to lose. I could already tell. The girls wanted to go, and I had a hard time saying no to them, especially in this circumstance. F my life. Seriously. As I finished getting ready, my thoughts drifted to Silver Ridge. The place was known for its luxury, the kind of town where people drove cars that cost more than my house and wore clothes that could probably pay off my truck. The idea of walking around there with Maya and Lily made me feel a little uneasy. Honestly, I am not even sure why. If I had to articulate it, I know how judgmental people could be. The last thing I wanted was for my girls to feel out of place or get any side-eye looks from people that they didn't know. There are a lot of rich people in Silver Ridge. I mean, I doubt people are going to point their finger and laugh. But is it really okay for us to go to a place meant for billionaires? Like I said, I have been coming to these mountains for a long time. There's a reason I haven't been to Silver Ridge. But then I thought about Victoria and Samantha. They seemed so down to earth despite the lives they led. Surely they'd make sure that Maya and Lily didn't feel out of place. I headed downstairs, intending to talk to Victoria and Samantha about heading back to the campsite and praying they might back me on not going to Silver Ridge. Again, I knew that I was going to lose the argument. We had talked about going into town the day before. I promised I would help. My failed realization that the town we were going to was Silver Ridge on me. Damn. The devil is in the details. Victoria and Samantha looked as impeccable as ever, despite the early hour. Victoria was dressed in a stylish yet practical ensemble jeans that fit her perfectly and a soft cashmere sweater that made her look effortlessly elegant. Samantha, on the other hand, had chosen a winter dress that showcased her figure without being too revealing, paired with leggings and boots that made her look both fashionable and ready for the cold. With the early spring weather, they were both dressed perfectly. Was that a woman thing? To know exactly what you need for a given situation. Geez. I cleared my throat, feeling awkward. Morning, ladies, you both look amazing. I feel underdressed. I looked down at my flannel shirt and jeans. The women laughed softly. Listen, I said, I was thinking we've probably overstayed our welcome here. The storm's over, and the girls and I should probably head back to the campsite. I can bake that pie before we go, so you'll have something for later. Victoria turned to me with a raised eyebrow, a slight smile playing on her lips. Overstayed your welcome? Nonsense, Ethan. We're having a wonderful time with you and the girls. There's no need for you to rush off. Yeah, Samantha chimed in, crossing her arms as she leaned against the counter. Besides, who's going to protect us if another storm rolls in? Or if a bear decides to wander down from the mountains? We need a big, strong man around, don't we, Victoria? Victoria nodded, her expression amused. Absolutely. It wouldn't be safe for us to be here alone. And the girls are having so much fun, it would be a shame to cut the trip short. I felt a wave of uncertainty wash over me. They were being kind, but I didn't want to be a burden. I don't want to cause any discomfort, I said, scratching the back of my head. I'm not exactly cut out for this kind of living. Samantha tilted her head, her eyes narrowing slightly as if she were trying to figure me out. Ethan, you're not causing any discomfort. We're actually enjoying your company. And the girls are a delight. So, please, don't feel like you have to leave. I hesitated, but their words were genuine, and the thought of taking the girls away from this unexpected adventure didn't sit right with me. Then I heard Lily from down the hall. Daddy, I hear you. If you make us leave, we will go, but you'll get no kisses for a month. I mean it. Maya chimed in. It will be 2 months for me. And you know how much that hurts me to say. I couldn't help but laugh. All right, you two troublemakers, we can stay. I smiled at both women standing in front of me. Thank you, Samantha and Victoria. Those girls have been through a lot, and you make them feel special. It's obvious how special you are. I looked at Samantha and then Victoria. They had a hard time looking me in the eyes for some reason. Okay, we are staying. That's okay, I guess. Now, I had a bigger problem, Silver Ridge. Just thinking about it made me uneasy. I cleared my throat, trying to keep my voice steady as I addressed Victoria and Samantha. Look, Silver Ridge. It's a place for really rich people. I'm not sure it's the best idea for us to go there. I don't want the girls to feel out of place. Victoria looked at me, a mixture of amusement and disbelief on her face. Ethan, do you really think we'd let anyone treat those girls poorly? They're with us, and I assure you, no one would dare say anything. Samantha scoffed, crossing her arms as she leaned against the counter. Ethan, if anyone even thinks about hurting those girls, there's going to be hell to pay. But I think you're overthinking it. Silver Ridge's old town is full locals that go back generations, and while there are places for high money, there are lots of regular people too. Don't you worry about it. Besides, it will be fun to take the girls shopping. There are lots of stores that aren't anywhere else in the world. The girls will love it. I opened my mouth to argue, but the words wouldn't come out. They were both so confident, so sure that it wouldn't be a problem. But I knew how people could be judgmental, snobbish. Hell, look at my ex-wife. I didn't want to put Maya and Lily in a situation like that. Well, okay, but shopping is dash. Maya and Lily entered the room. They looked wicked excited, though to be honest, I couldn't understand why. It was just Silver Ridge, why would they care? Then it hit me. The girls were excited because they were going with Victoria and Samantha somewhere. They were going shopping. But it wasn't about the shopping, it was about Victoria and Samantha. They were missing their mother. The old one that used to give a shit about them. No, that isn't fair. It isn't that Sarah doesn't care for them. It's just she cares about her own happiness more. Well, that wasn't much better. Damn. I sighed, feeling the last of my resistance crumble. It was hard enough to say no to the girls on a regular day. But there was no way I could deny them this experience, even if their mother's substitutes for the day were two of the alluring women I've ever interacted with. All right, I relented, though the decision didn't sit well. We'll go, but just window shopping. Don't you two go bugging Samantha and Victoria about clothes or any other such silliness. Samantha flashed me a victorious smile. Don't worry, Ethan. We'll take care of everything. It'll be fun, and the girls will love it. Victoria nodded in agreement, her eyes twinkling with amusement. And don't worry about Silver Ridge. You'll fit in just fine. Besides, I think you might enjoy it more than you think. We piled into Victoria's brand new Escalade, the kind of vehicle that seemed more suited for royalty than a simple trip into town. I slid into the driver's seat, feeling a bit out of place behind the wheel of such a luxurious machine. Samantha climbed in beside me, her presence filling the cabin with a subtle scent of something expensive and sophisticated. She adjusted her seat, and I couldn't help but notice how natural she seemed in this world of polished leather and gleaming metal. "Victoria," I said, adjusting the seat, "are you sure you want me to drive this car? It looks really expensive." Victoria nodded. "Ethan, it looks really expensive because it is really expensive. It's a specialty vehicle from Cadillac. You have to custom order them. Then perhaps you should drive." "Ethan," Victoria put her hand on my mind and squeezed. "I don't have a driver's license." "Neither does Samantha." I burst out laughing. "Fair enough." Maya and Lily scrambled into the back, practically bouncing with excitement. Samantha slid in next to them and pulled out a dice game. "All right, ladies, let's see how lucky you are." As I started the engine, the smooth purr of the Escalade surprised me. The power I felt from the turnover was amazing, raw, and strong. I loved it. Victoria smiled at me, her usual poise softened by genuine warmth. "So, Princess Victoria," Maya began, her eyes wide with curiosity, "I have a few more questions about being a lady." Victoria chuckled, clearly amused by the title they'd given her. "Go right ahead, Maya." Maya leaned forward. "Do you guys get to play sports in school, or are you like too pretty and delicate to get messy?" Victoria and Samantha broke out into laughter. Victoria responded, "I will have you know, young lady, that I played first-team polo, cricket, and was one of the best skeet shooters at my prep school." I looked up in the rearview mirror to see how Maya would react. She looked confused. "I don't know what any of those things are." "You don't have to make up words like that, Princess Victoria. If you are boring, you can just say so." Samantha lost it. She was laughing so hard I thought she might pee herself. Victoria turned in her seat and grabbed Maya's legs, tickling her. "You little bugger. I will show you boring." It took a moment of mayhem to calm everyone back down. I glanced at Victoria, catching her eye. She gave me a wink before turning back to the girls, who changed topics and were now asking about royal dinners and castles. We left the estate. The road wound its way through the dense forest, the trees tall and majestic, their leaves shimmering in the morning light. Rain had a transformative quality to it, making the forest especially magically after an intense storm. The calm, the dewy atmosphere, the sense of renewal. It was majestic. The drive to Silver Ridge was nothing short of breathtaking. The mountains loomed large overhead, their peaks dusted with snow. The road followed the contours of the land, curving around hills and dipping into valleys, offering glimpses of distant ridgelines and slumbering meadows. I caught her in the rearview. Samantha rolled down her window slightly, letting in a breeze that tousled her hair. She looked out at the passing scenery, a contented smile playing on her lips. "It's beautiful here," she murmured, more to herself than to anyone else. "Yeah, it is," I agreed, adjusting my eyes back to the road. "This place has a way of making you forget about everything else. It's peaceful." I glanced back to my rearview eye to see Samantha staring at me. We exchanged some witty banter, but I lost track of it as I caught glances of Samantha's eyes. Geez, the woman was just striking. I turned back to the road, determined not to look at Samantha's eyes, and eventually we settled back into silence. We drove in comfortable silence for a while, the only sounds being the hum of the engine and the occasional laughter from the back seat. As we climbed higher into the mountains, the views became even more spectacular, with deep valleys and twisting rivers roaring with both winter runoff and rain. Silver Ridge was getting closer, and with it came the sense that we were leaving behind the simplicity of the campsite for something more complex. The town might be high-end, but it was more than just luxury. It was a place where people like Victoria and Samantha felt at home. And for today, at least, they were inviting us into their world. As we continued our drive, the landscape began to shift subtly. The trees grew denser, their trunks thicker and more ancient, as if they had been standing guard over these mountains for centuries. The road widened slightly as we neared Silver Ridge, and the first signs of the town started to appear. We noticed small cabins tucked away in the forest, their chimneys puffing out thin trails of smoke, and the occasional rustic sign pointing to trailheads or scenic overlooks. Bigger homes and bigger estates appeared and passed many a fancy car. I continued to drive. It was then that Samantha began to talk. It was like we were on a guided tour. I've been coming to the area for years, and I know about Silver Ridge kind of. I know it's rich. I know it's exclusive. What I didn't know was that Silver Ridge was divided into two distinct parts, the Old Town and the Mountain Village. According to Samantha, the Old Town was the heart of the community that had been around since the early 1700s, a place where history met charm. It was nestled in a valley at the base of the mountains, its streets lined with historic buildings that had been carefully preserved over the years. The architecture was a mix of old Victorian houses, quaint shops, and small cafes with outdoor seating. Cobblestone streets wound through the town, leading to a central square where a grand old clock tower stood as a reminder of a bygone era. The Old Town had a timeless quality to it, as if it had been plucked straight from the past and set down in the middle of these rugged mountains. It was the kind of place where you could lose yourself for hours, wandering through bookstores filled with rare editions or sipping coffee at a corner cafe while watching the world go by. But beyond the Old Town, up the mountain, was the Mountain Village, a world entirely different yet seamlessly connected to the town below. The Mountain Village was the modern face of Silver Ridge, a luxurious retreat of interconnected construction built to cater to those seeking both adventure and comfort. The buildings up here were sleek and contemporary, made of glass and stone, with balconies that offered breathtaking views of the surrounding peaks. High-end boutiques, gourmet restaurants, and luxury hotels built with interconnecting bridges and elevated walkways catered to the well-heeled visitors who flocked to the area year-round. Mountain Village was unlike anything in the world. It was as if a medieval castle had a baby with a mall developer and clung to the mountains like fungus. Despite that rather gross description, it was pretty amazing to see. The two parts of the town were connected by a gondola that ran from the Old Town to the Mountain Village. The gondola looked like an experience in itself. As it glided silently over the treetops, it offered passengers a panoramic view of the entire valley, the mountains rising up on all sides like sentinels. In the winter, the gondola was packed with skiers and snowboarders eager to hit the slopes, while in the summer, it carried hikers, mountain bikers, and sightseers up to the trails that crisscrossed the higher elevations. As we neared the town, the girls in the back seat grew even more excited, their voices overlapping as they talked about everything they wanted to see and do. Maya and Lily had never been to Silver Ridge despite visiting the area often, and the idea of exploring a place so different from their usual surroundings had them practically vibrating with anticipation. "We should definitely take the gondola up to the Mountain Village," Samantha suggested, turning to look at me with a grin. "The view is incredible, and the girls will love it." I nodded, still feeling a bit uneasy but trying to push it aside. "Sounds like a plan," I agreed, though the thought of spending the day in such a high-end place still made me a little uncomfortable. But seeing how happy it made Maya and Lily, I knew I'd go along with it, no matter how out of place I felt. We drove into Silver Ridge, passing quaint shops and historic buildings of the Old Town, the cobblestone streets bustling with activity. Tourists wandered in and out of stores, their arms laden with bags from local artisans and high-end retailers alike. The central square was busy, with children playing on the playground equipment around the clock tower and couples strolling hand in hand. The town felt alive, vibrant in a way that made it clear this was more than just a tourist destination, it was a community. Even amidst the luxury, there was a sense of warmth and welcome, a feeling that everyone was here to enjoy the beauty of the mountains and the charm of the town, no matter where they came from. The whole thing totally subverted my expectations. "Old Town first," Victoria suggested from the back seat, her voice filled with excitement. "Do you see that parking structure over there, Ethan? I have a spot on the ground floor." I pulled into the structure, and Victoria pointed out the parking spot. We got out of the car. "Now," Victoria said, clapping her hands together, "there's a little cafe I want to show you all. Best hot chocolate in the state, and I won't hear any arguments." "Hot chocolate? Yum. No argument here."